dun 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 dun. I don't even know if it's recording right now. All right, what's up? If you're watching this later, you probably want to jump forward to the intro, unless you enjoy the pre-show. We'll have probably 5 minutes of pre-show right now. Extremely formal, obviously. YouTube always uses the title of the last show. How could that feature ever be desirable? There's literally no one on earth who is wanting to use the last title of their live stream. Who's out there saying, oh man, you know it would be so tight if I just had the same title as last time pop up for all my lovely people that have the bell notification on so they can think it's the last show. Nobody wants that. All right, fix the title. Got to post that link right now onto Twitter. Then we're going to get this thing going. Last time it started the live show as an unlisted video, which also you got to wonder who wants that. Who is out there saying, man, I can't wait to show this video to no one. To no one. But it's all good. Boom, I got the link. Got that pic going on right now. How you guys doing? I see some people are here already, but I cannot see your lovely messages in the chat just yet, because I'm still doing what I have come to call clerical work. Boom! Okay, let me read the tweet over really quick to make sure there's no typos. I always feel like I have to use all the characters, but maybe I should take the brevity is the soul of wit. Who said that? Shakespeare? Okay. Just gotta get the TV emoji, then we're good to go. I'm still setting up, so this is real pre-show. This is real pre-show edition right now. But that's good. You got the excitement of live TV. You know, everything on TV now is scripted. I'm assuming. I don't watch TV anymore. Okay, boom. It's posted. It's tweeted. We are also posted, but in a different sense. We are posted in the more colloquial sense. One might say, posted up. I've heard many young men use that phrase. Posted up. We are posted. I enjoy posting. That creates a situation where you can post up while being posted. Anyway, how you guys doing? Nice, everyone's here. This is everyone. Let's lock it in. Nice, Peter's here. Isidore's here. Everyone's here. I can see all you guys in the chat. I'm not going to read all your names, though. All right. This should be fun. I'm just going to make sure I have everything going on over here on my end. So I might be pacing around the studio a little bit. But how are you guys doing? How's it going out there on your end right now? I'm pretty amped for this. Honestly, I get excited every week. I guess that's a good sign, right? I mean, I could be like dragging myself in here saying, oh my god, I'm doing the painting show again. Then I wouldn't do it. But actually, I'm excited about it every week. And I think we're going to mix it up a little bit this week. I think I'm the one doing it. So obviously, that's what's happening. But I think we are going to change it up a little bit. I want to break out the CMYK paints. And this is what I was looking for right here. I got some other brushes. I got these brushes right here. You can also see, I didn't even put my gloves on yet. We're really riding in. We're riding in loose over here. So I got these new brushes. And the camera, you may also notice, is very zoomed out. That's funny, actually. So you have no sense of scale because you're just watching this. And but let me just make sure everything's cool. Something just changed on my screen. We're good, right? Yeah, it's all good. Cool. So you're watching this, you have no sense of scale. You might think these are tiny, tiny, tiny brushes. But actually, the camera is much more zoomed out right now. Way more zoomed out. Like, normally we have tiny paper. I'll show you how big the paper we normally use is. We stepped it up quite a bit. So normally we're working this size. But now we zoomed out quite a bit. Because I want to get a little bit looser. I want to get some washy stuff going on. We'll talk about the paint and that kind of situation. And I got these brushes. And man, brushes are so expensive. I miss when I had no idea what I was doing. And I could just roll. So it's 7 o'clock right now. We started, I mean, a minute late. We start early or late, you know, who really knows. So we'll hang out for just a minute and then we'll get this going. But I miss when I was just starting out and I could just roll into an art store and drop like 20 bucks on like basically garbage and not really know what I was doing. Not that it's garbage, you know, that you can get cheap supplies and do cool stuff with it. But now that I've become accustomed to the nicer supplies, it's a little annoying. I roll in this art store and I drop like all this cash. But it's all good. People have much bigger problems than that. So I got these brushes and I'm pretty stoked about that. I think almost the whole painting show we've just used a few tiny brushes. I went maybe like a year, maybe like 2 years even, just using a few super tiny brushes. I did a lot of the best paintings I ever did in my life with these 0 brushes, even smaller than this actually. So you can see it's almost just like a few hairs on the end of this brush. And I used to spend hours. I had this apartment and I had this giant easel. I actually have the giant easel right here. And it was cool because this will be the pre-show story. We always need a little story for the pre-show. So I had this huge easel, right? And it was in the corner of my room on the 2nd floor, and I had this window. And right across the street, like if the window was open, I could hear the guys talking. It was literally right there. Was this like truck packing depot? It wasn't Amazon, but it was something like Amazon, you know? And they packed these boxes like outside and loaded them into trucks. So it was kind of cool because I'd wake up super early, you know? And I would just do these paintings like 8.5 by 11 with this super tiny brush. It might even have been this brush. It might have literally been this exact brush that I'm holding right now. It's pretty awesome, actually. It was, actually. I got the 00 and then the 0 over here. Anyway, and I would just be, you know, entranced almost, you know, just painting all day. And I could look out and I could see the guys when they would start working, you know, and then I'd be there. And then they would, like, break. You know, there'd be a while, like an hour they were gone. And then they'd come back and I was, like, watching them working. It's pretty interesting time, actually. I did a lot of really good paintings then. Some of the best ones I've done at that time. Of course, that was years ago, so now we've improved quite a bit. Oh, let's see, there's one other thing I have to do. I have to add the mic to this subsection. But how are you guys doing? Let's see, we're talking about art so much. Usually the pre-show, I'm talking about some random stuff going on with me. Honestly, it's relevant to the spiritual realm. I try not to talk about it too much, but I have been immersed in a quandary, more of a mental quandary than a spiritual quandary, you could say. Whoa, I just clicked the button. That was huge. Well, whatever, it's fine. So yeah, I've had this situation going on here. I think I mentioned it last week, but you know, I have someone staying at my house and I have my dog. And I have been trying to get the dog to chill out. And today she finally has chilled out a little bit. And it's been so like spiritually rewarding in this really interesting way. You know, having this relationship with this animal. I guess it's relevant because I really do want to like write something or make a comic maybe just about like the sort of spiritual nature of like working with the dog. But it has been interesting and it's been like very rewarding, like I said. I've really like bonded with the dog like more than I have in like ever over the last like week or two, just because we're like facing this like problem together, and the problem is like her anger in a way. And it's interesting also because, like, I don't know, I guess every guy has some, like, interesting relationship to anger. You know, every guy probably gets, like, a little angry about something. So, like, I mentioned it a little bit last week, but, like, watching it completely subsume her, completely, like, she becomes, like anger embodied, you know, when she, like, you know, snaps a little bit. And it's not logical, you know, either. It's, like, a purely reactive, instinctual thing. So, like, it's also made me reflect on my own, like, instincts and my own, like, reactivity in a way. And yeah, I think also I stopped drinking coffee maybe like a little while ago, and coffee kind of makes me angry, and then I started drinking coffee again. This is all going to come together, and then I'm just going to press the intro button and we're going to get this going. But the coffee, I feel like, you know, I suspect that a lot of people are really affected by coffee more than they think, because I have a pretty high level of like reflection of my own mental and like spiritual constituency, but I think that most people don't engage with that realm, unfortunately. Not that it's an IQ thing, but you know, smart people do, dumb people do, whatever. But I think most people don't think about that. What I noticed about coffee is like it has the initial effect where it's like, boom, you got the energy. Oh, I should be doing it 2D this way. Boom, you got the energy going on. But then way after you think the effects have worn off, the effects are still there. And I noticed the wildest thing, which is I'm very aware of my dreams. And I suspect that part of the dream situation is reasoned backwards from your like sort of underlying mental and physical state. And I noticed that if I have coffee in the morning, even if I wake up at like 6 a.m., I'll wake up, boom, like it's pitch black out. I'll have 1 cup of coffee, maybe less than that even. What I notice is that at night, I'll have these like anger dreams. I'll have dreams where I'm just like yelling at someone, or I'm in like a very emotional argument with someone, or things like that. And it's very atypical for my personality, at least at this point. And it's interesting because I feel like there's something about the coffee that like flips this little like aggression switch like deep down in me. It's really strange. So I kind of have to stop drinking, I guess. But I like it. And I like it, but maybe it's bad that I like it because I also suspect it's kind of like my enjoyment of doing drugs, like surfacing in this other way. So I guess I'm T-gang now. Anyway, that was the pre-show. Random things about my life, but also not random. But now it's time. It is time for the show. And I'm going to pull the trigger on the intro. I guess this is the slogan, because we say it every week now, but the intro says season 2. But you know deep down that it's not season 2. It's season 3. What's up, everyone? How's everybody doing? I'm doing great, as you just heard, but I hope you're doing great also. And I'm pretty excited right now because I decided to, we'll change it up a little bit. Something about little meta creative note before we start. The show is partially about what we might call meta creativity. And I feel like whenever in art in general, whenever you start doing something and you know how it's going to turn out, you're missing that live, active quality. There's something about engaging with the artistic process where you don't know what's going to happen, and that's where things get interesting because you've released this like preconceived notion of what you're doing. That's something we've talked about a lot. When you have like a preconceived notion of how the thing should be, it already exists virtually in your mind. And then you're just trying to translate this thing that exists virtually in your mind already. You're trying to just recreate it. So the thing you create is a copy. It's a poor recreation of this thing that exists virtually in your mind. I think there's a lot of parallels to real life in that sense. But with art, that's definitely the case. And the last maybe 6 episodes of the show, I read something and got some illustrations together, and we had this whole, almost like volume's a little low. Word up. I'll turn it up a little bit. We had almost like a little bit of like a presentation thing going on, and that was pretty tight. But I want to keep it fresh. And I sat down this week and I said, let's just go hard in the paint. I know the kids say that now. I'm not cool anymore, so I don't really care. But we're literally going to go hard in the paint, and we would just hit the painting thing because I want to explore a little bit of the color situation, change up the format for the painting a little bit, and we'll talk about that. But first, I do want to look at a few pictures because we are changing it up. If you were here last week, then you know a little bit of where I'm going with this, but not entirely. But if you weren't, basically I got these paints, and just to go over very quickly, I painstakingly assembled, as you know if you've watched, my other palette, which is based sort of a mixture of like a classical pigment, mineral pigment based palette. It's really a mineral, I would say. It's like I'm trying to recreate the mineral pigment situation. Mineral pigment would be a catch-all term for crushing up stones and making paint, getting painting colors from the natural world in any way. So it's kind of a mix of like what I picked up from, Central Asian style, that stuff, medieval, that stuff. Mostly I'm like a Western painting guy, but there's a little bit of an influence in terms of like the malachite colors and deep green colors from some of my Eastern painting experience. But anyway, the point is that I have that palette assembled. It's very cohesive, but I wanted to change it up. So I went to the store and I saw this, and I thought this would be a perfect way of doing that because these are CMYK colors. Everyone here probably knows. If you're here, you're probably a little bit of a nerd. That your printer is full of CMYK ink. CMYK, someone mentioned it in the chat, Most people don't know what the K is for, but it's for key. I think the person said that. I'm not going to scroll back, but I think they said that. Key being black. So it's cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. And we were doing it last week, and there was a moment where the paints kind of mixed accidentally together, and I realized, you know, this kind of hyper-controlled, like, oh, I'm going to put in a little bush, it's got to be perfect, and then the bush, and then here's this bird, and they're not, and the kind of hyper-controlled nature wasn't really working with these paints. So I thought we would change it up and push into the watercolory, accidentally moving things around situation with them and see how it went. Because what I suspect, my theory that we're going to see if it's true right now, my theory is that these paints accidentally mixing and sort of incidentally mixing is where they're really going to shine. They don't shine with the hyper controlled sniper rifle kind of thing, but I think once we get like a big wash of the yellow and get a big wash of the other colors and, you know, the yellow and blue, these paints are basically designed so that they mix in a pure way. What I mean by that is if you have, you know, a random red and a random blue, you should know this if you've been watching the show for like a year, but, you know, just to reiterate, because I want you guys to be able to casually talk about this stuff. If you have a random red and a random blue and mix them, you're not going to get like a perfect purple because those colors have imperfections in them and parts of them are canceling each other out. But these paints are designed so that you're not going to get that. In case you go to the store and want to pick up some colors, they're normally called spectrum colors. You'll see spectrum yellow, spectrum magenta, spectrum cyan. Sometimes you'll even see spectrum red and things like that. And what that term spectrum means is that it's for color theory painting. It's made so you can perfectly, boom, use it as a clear signal to totally get that clear color that's designed for mixing, basically. So since they're designed for mixing, that's what we're going to do right now. And super quick, I'm going to kick over. I just wanted to look at a few pictures. I didn't put the mic on, so just literally hold on just 1 second while I put the mic on this slideshow. Hold up. Boom. And just confirm that you guys can hear me in the chat. But I'm just gonna go off talking right now. Let's see, are we at the first one? Yeah, we are. They're a little out of order. Perfect. Okay, perfect. So I'm gonna assume people can hear me unless someone says they can't. And it's this mic, right? Poke, poke. Yeah, we're poke, poke, poke. Cool. Yeah, we're good. Okay. So most people are probably familiar with this, but it's always good to refresh ourselves. And also the thing is with art, you know, again, just a little meta creative note. It's also the same thing with my spiritual studies too, honestly. Is going back to the 101 stuff always like continually refreshes the whole situation. So both in art and also in terms of theology and stuff, I always try and not the theology, I'm never going to be like, oh, the 101, I'm so beyond that. But just in general for art, that is my own area of expertise in a way. I try not to have the attitude of like, oh, this is 101 stuff. You know, that's the stuff that's always fruitful. So we're going to just hit this for 1 second, super quick. And most people are probably familiar with this idea, but the picture at the top, you can see these flowers up there. Your printer separates them into a cyan, magenta, yellow, and black layer and just layers them over each other. That's why if you go to print, you know, the printer wants it to be in CMYK instead of something called RGB. If you don't know what that means, you'll figure it out in a second as we keep going. So there's the color separation aspect. And some artists have actually used that to their advantage in a really cool way. There's a guy named Chuck Close. He's one of the cooler contemporary painters. Might be one of the coolest, like, art world figures, guy who's in the art world but still is actually doing something that's interesting. And he did a lot of these paintings where he tried to sort of make himself into a printer, and he would use this little airbrush and just painstakingly go over every inch of the canvas and act as a printer, making these photorealistic images. And this is a pretty well-known one. The guy, it's a really funny final image. You can actually see on the easel, but the guy looks like kind of like a used car salesman kind of guy. And what's funny is a little funny anecdote is that Chuck Close makes these giant images of people's faces. Like you can see they're like, you know, 10 feet by 10 feet almost. And every detail is just blown up huge. And what he said was that he noticed that people started to get kind of weird about it. Like, you know, he would paint someone like this, and then when they went home after seeing it at the museum or at the gallery, they change their haircut or get different glasses. Like something about seeing their appearance blown up so large really just weirded them out. So his friend, when he did this portrait of him, his friend put on these weird glasses and changed his hair up and made himself look as different than he normally does as possible, and went in and had the picture painted, and then he left and just went back to his normal appearance. I thought that was kind of funny. I actually forgot about that before I was looking at this. I used to be really into Chuck Close. But anyway, here you can see that he has the image separated on the easel into cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. and he's going over. You can actually see, I wanted to pull up the time lapse of this, but YouTube is like crazy intense about like copyright and stuff like that. But if you look up Chuck Close CMYK time lapse, you can see images of him going over the canvas, once with the yellow, once with the cyan, once with the blue, just like a printer. You can actually see in the right eyeglass area, it's more pink because he's progressively layering over those colors. Anyway, same deal here, just to sort of beat it in. Bottom left, you can see the painting, and then it's separated out into the cyan, magenta, yellow, and black colors. Anyway, so it's kind of interesting because most people are familiar with the color wheel, right? So I want to just poke a little hard into the color wheel since that is a 101 thing, but I'm going to sort of flip it a little bit in a way that most people don't encounter it. So here you can see the color wheel. Again, most people are familiar with that. And in case you have never really thought about a color wheel before, maybe you never did art stuff before, you can see at the top is red, bottom left is blue, bottom right is yellow, and then there's a spectrum running between them. The interesting thing here that I want you guys to notice, because we're going to look at some sort of alternative, we're going to look at a alternative color wheel that flips this around a little bit. But if you look opposite of each color on the color wheel, those are called complementary colors. I've talked about that a little bit, and sometimes when we're painting, you can see that blue is opposite of orange. We've mixed blue and orange. Those colors cancel out and make gray. So they also have a kind of special relationship to each other, the complementary colors. And yeah, they're meant to be complementary. So, we'll talk about that a little bit more as we go on. And people use this to sort of develop color schemes and things like that. You can actually see a really easy color scheme generator in case you're not a really color inclined person. Is you're looking at your screen right now. Just pick any random color. Just pick any color on the wheel. I picked red, but you can pick any color. And then move 2 spaces over in either direction and also pick that color. Okay, so now you have 2 colors selected, and then the color that's between those two, jump opposite on the color wheel and also select that color. So now you have 2 colors that are 1 space away, and you have a color opposite on the wheel. That's called a split complementary color scheme, and it's a way to get sort of a nice, like, sophisticated look with the colors without trying too hard, because it gets you that complementary opposite on the color wheel thing, but it's also not just the direct blue and orange. It looks kind of, frankly, dumb when they're together. Anyway, so you can imagine, even if you picked, maybe you don't like the ones you picked, you can imagine that's how people get color schemes sometimes. They shift these relationships around the color wheel. That's why there's an analogy to music theory. They're kind of like chords, these spatial relationships that you can just turn around the color wheel. We'll probably do a whole episode about not my ideas, but general ideas about parallels between color theory and music and stuff. Anyway, so to flip that a little bit, so that color wheel, it's a little bit oversimplified. It's really like, the classic idealized color wheel. But here you can kind of imagine what a color wheel would be like if we were using cyan, magenta, and yellow instead of red, blue, and yellow. When you're a little kid, they teach you red, blue, and yellow are the primary colors, but as I've been explaining, it's kind of an idealized version of it. Really, if you wanted the real primary colors, it would be cyan, magenta, and yellow. From those, you can mix everything else. So it's kind of a trip to just look at this and reimagine what it would be like if, let's say all of classical art and art history went away and we just had printers and, modern tech, and we tried to make a new color wheel. It probably would be something like this, actually, where cyan, magenta, and yellow would be the main ones, and then those colors in between, the green, blue, and red that we identify with more as, those are the normal colors, those would be the sort of in-between colors. Last thing I want to hit here before we jump over to something else is maybe you're going to learn a new term right now, sound really smart at the party when you're talking about colors with your friends. But this is an additive color wheel. This is additive color mixing. Additive like A-D-D-I-T, additive, because the colors add. That's how we mix colors in real life. This reflects mixing colors with paint or markers or just pigments, things in real life. So you can imagine, again, you mix blue and yellow, you get green. You've probably done that at some point in your life, right? So you're wondering, well, what else is there? If that's the real life color mixing situation, what else is there? Well, let's step over, boom, into the last 2 picks. So mixing light is actually totally different than mixing physical pigments. This is called a subtractive color mixing thing. This is subtractive color mixing instead of additive. And it's pretty cool because you can see, maybe it seems unintuitive, but it actually makes perfect sense. Instead of adding, the colors subtract from each other. So where the colors overlap, it's like they remove that light frequency from the other color. They sort of cancel each other out. So you can see actually, very clearly, over here where the colors overlap, the overlap is darker because it's additive. We're getting closer and closer to black because if you mix all the pigments together, you get this super dark, like almost black color. But here, this is subtractive. In the middle, we have white. So as we mix the colors here, we're building closer and closer to white. So it's just a totally different way of thinking about mixing colors. And here you can see, this is like what a color wheel would look like if we lived in this world where we were actually mixing the physical light itself instead of the pigments that just reflect the light. We'll talk about that difference a little bit more in a second, but I thought this was kind of cool. It's a little bit of a trip to see. They use this in theater, if people have theater spotlights and things like that. Or if you were working with the TV or even a computer screen, this is how colors are mixed via your computer screen. Some of you guys that have poked into like the computer tech stuff might recognize, here we have red, green, and blue, right? That's RGB on your computer screen, because your computer screen, you're just looking at light. Your computer's not moving around bits of pigment to make these images that you're seeing. It's mixing colors with the pure light, so it works in a additive color sense. So your computer's RGB, but your printer is CMYK. That's why your printer uses, colored dirt, basically, and your computer screen uses light. For some of you guys, it's pretty obvious, but I thought we'd go into that really quick. And that's basically it. I honestly just want to get painting right now. It's interesting, I can never tell at this point in my studies and stuff, I can never tell what's obvious and what's kind of really interesting and deep in a way, but these things are colored. You kind of keep zooming out more and more and going more and more basic, but I don't know if most people consider it, but these tubes of paint, these things, even my gloves are this color because the material that these gloves are, it's actually kind of the opposite of what you think. You think oh, these are blue, right? These are have a special relationship to blue light. But what actually happens with these gloves is the light hits them and they absorb every color of light except blue, and they reflect back out the blue light. So it's actually kind of a trip if you think about it, because when you're looking at these blue gloves, you're actually looking at an object. The object itself is absorbing every color except blue. And for that reason, the blue is the only light that's coming back into your eye. So when you look at a blue object, you're actually looking at an object that really is, if you think about it, every color except blue. It's really crazy, actually. And that's why you get the situation with mixing colors. I'm probably going to explain this poorly, and this is the deepest, trippiest we're going to go really quick, but that's why I'm really debating if I should try and explain this right now. I don't even know if I totally understand it, but that's why when you mix red and yellow, you get orange. Because this object right here absorbs, it's magenta, but let's just call it red for the purposes of discussing. This object right here absorbs every color light except red. This object right here absorbs every color light except yellow. So when we take them and we mix them together, we're getting the effect of this object right here is getting canceled out all the colors except the yellow and the red. So then we get orange. I feel like I kind of lost it there. I tried to go too deep. There's a deeper aspect to it, but whatever, man. I can only go so hard. Anyway, there is a deeper aspect to it, but I can't get to it right now. But that's basically the deal. And we're gonna mix some paint right now. We're gonna get painting because that's the real reason why we're here. It's I reach it. It's really pleasant almost in a way, when I'm dealing with ideas all the time to kind of grab onto one where I'm like, yeah, it's every color except red. So when I mix it with this, it's absorbing every color except the colors with the, and it's all right, dude. All right, that's enough. Anyway, though, so I thought that was kind of interesting. That's what I'm telling you. And right now, so we have this huge piece of paper here. It's 16 by 16. It's bigger than anything else we've used on here. And I also have this larger brush. This is a flat brush right over here. They call this a flat brush. It's really a square brush, I guess you could say. It's different than the round brushes that we normally use. Boom. And I kind of want to just go for it. I'm wondering, this is the last kind of meta-creative note that we'll hit right now, but I'm wondering how much I should really plan out what I'm going to do on this page right now. Because on the one hand, I guess it'd be good to have some kind of image in mind, but on the other hand, it's kind of cool if we don't. And maybe we should just go for it and see what happens. And if it doesn't turn out well, then it doesn't turn out well. Let's just see how it goes. So I'm gonna start with the yellow because it's the lightest color, and I feel like that'll give me the best bet for mixing things up and mixing things around. And we can talk in the chat a little bit while we're going. I'm gonna get the ball rolling a little bit here. And let's just start with a big circle. We have a big square canvas. You're seeing the edge of the paper, just so you know, the edge We got edge. We got edge. Perfect. I partially did that for myself to calibrate. And I like the circle. We almost did only circles the whole first season of painting, but it's a nice dynamic shape. It kind of naturally keeps things moving. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get an arc over here going, and I'm going to wet it in, and then I'm just going to come in with the yellow. I'm really hoping, I'm going to start doing that right now while we're talking. So you can't see anything, but I'm just wetting the page right now. And as you know, if you watch the show, this wets the fibers in the paper. It's kind of the same effect as if you have a wet paper towel and you dry something up and then it spreads out into the paper towel. That's exactly what I'm doing with the water right here. And I'm hoping that when I come in with the yellow, it like bleeds out a lot. And if it doesn't, we might try and make it have that effect. Let's see. So for that reason, I'm also just going to get the water really loaded up over here. And let's just see what happens right now. It's going to come through. Yeah, perfect. That's a great sign. It's off to a great start right here. Perfect. Perfect. There we go. Okay. And the yellow is really bright. It's actually really nice. And I can't tell. So again, I'm not going to know a lot of what's going on right now. I guess that's part of what makes it interesting, hopefully. But I can't tell if I should try and go in while it's still wet and just go like wet on wet. That's what we would call it in art painting world. Or if I should let it parts of it dry and mix the dry over the wet. Let's see how it goes. But I think we'll start with the yellow and blue. Maybe we can go with like a cardinal or something. I've been thinking about cardinals a lot recently. It is going to be spring soon. But let's see. I'm going to come in with the other arc maybe on the other side. And that'll give us a nice like circle composition to paint into, and then it'll also let us, I'm just going to wet this again really quick just to make sure it stays wet. Let's see. So I'm going to load this up. And same deal. Part of what's interesting is going in on this stuff is just thinking about the material aspects of it. Let's see. I'm just going to come around. Just going to come around here. It's okay if it's not a perfect circle. It really never is. I'm actually just going to lean into the lack of perfection. I could even have a bigger brush. And the main thing that we're trying to get going here is the area between them. So let's see. I'm actually just going to come in and just totally wet this out a ton. And, you know, we got a kind of like weak color situation over here. It's not really what we want. We want like boom, like powerful, big, coming in strong. So I'm going to throw down the yellow. Let's see what happens if I just come in. Wow. They're not really bleeding into each other as much as I want. Let's see. Let's see. I'm not going to take no for an answer here. Someone asked an interesting question. Do you ever get do you still get butterflies when you see a blank canvas? Did you ever? That's interesting. In a way, I guess the blank page does make me really excited for sure. I'm just going to come in with like the fully loaded up pigment here. You can see I want like this bleeding, but I want it like huge. I want like uncontrollable, huge, massive areas of color mixing here. But am I going to get it? Maybe I'm being too impatient. You can see it kind of did fuzz out here. But let's see. We're getting kind of interesting over here. This is getting pretty good. Maybe this zone is like kind of ideal right now. When we introduce the red, it's also going to be sort of another chapter in a way, because then once where all three meet, they're going to cancel out. But let's just go for it. And I'm putting down a ton of water on the paper. So if you've wondered ever why I use these watercolor blocks, this is why. There's so much water on the paper that if it wasn't glued down at the edges, it would buckle entirely. The painting would literally like warp up. It would just warp up. All right, let's see. So maybe we need to get the red in here. Maybe that's what we're missing a little bit. Okay. That's kind of cool, actually. And you know what? I'm gonna mix it up a little bit on the page over here. I don't know if it's because of the paint. I mean, mix it up on this wax paper over here. Maybe it's because of the paint. Maybe it's a variety of reasons, but we're getting some cool overlap here, but not exactly in the territory that I want. So let's see what happens if I get a little bit looser with the painting in. I suspect what we'll do is get kind of as much of an interesting background as we can going on, And then let's see what kind of orange we can get going on over here. And then we'll paint something over it. I actually don't know what that will be. I got this orange right now. I'm just gonna come in here. Okay. And I can also mix it on the paper. I wish I had a bigger brush. I can't believe I'm wishing I had a bigger brush right now. I thought this one would be like too big. It's all good. Let's see. I'm gonna mix some greens up over on the page too. And maybe the black will toughen it up a little bit. I don't want just like a total chaotic, what's the word I'm looking for? 100% washy. So maybe we will get it like totally washed out, like blurry almost, and then we'll focus it up with something like tight. Could put a blackbird over all the colors. That would be kind of cool. I feel like that's a little cliche. Maybe it would be cool. Let's see. Just resetting my paper towel situation over here. Fine. Perfect. Cool. So let's see. And it's nice you can see everything I'm doing over here. So I'm just going to grab all this yellow. I'm just going to grab the blue. Nice. I feel like the paint's so thin. Maybe I should be using like infinitely more paint. Let's see. Nice. That's tight. I'm going to grab some more blue. Got this like blue-green like I was talking about, this kind of like malachite color. And you can see it's really interesting. So, like I said, I have no idea how this is going to go. I mean, I guess that's kind of why you're here. But it's interesting because with the pigment paints that I normally use, so all that palette that I normally have, it's almost designed to avoid the situation that you're seeing right now, where these colors are very, you know, it's almost like I cracked open like a Crayola marker. You know what I'm saying? Like the colors are very like bright and clear, almost to the point that you might even describe them as like simplistic or something. They're like painfully bright and clear. Whereas the pigments that I normally use, you can feel them out a little bit more, and they have a nicer character right out of the tube, I guess is what I'm trying to say. They have their own, they can sort of stand on their own. I can take any color out of one of those tubes, and because it's a real pigment like from the earth, it stands on its own. But these, I'm getting a lot more, you know, like this green, like I would never use this green. It's like straight, like I said, like right out the tube, you know. I don't know if I'm explaining what I'm trying to say very well. I hope that I am. Okay. So let's see. I'm going to try and get, I'm just going to keep going. I'm just going to keep building this up, and let's just see what happens. I myself don't even know. And I'll kind of go back to sticking with the, here we go, perfect. Straight out of the tube's colors, let's see. There's definitely also an interesting parallel to be made somehow. Whenever I see those Trinity diagrams, like where you see the Trinity as three things overlapping, it always makes me think of like the three colors that you normally mix things with overlapping. Possibly a stretch, possibly not. I'm going to come in with the magenta over here. Maybe we need all three colors. Let's see. Cool. Perfect. Yeah, okay. Got a little darkness over here. Cool. Let's see, maybe we need to lean into the all of them mixing together. I didn't really anticipate like a rainbow thing going on. Maybe that was naive of me. But I didn't really anticipate like a rainbow aspect going on. But let's see. The purple and green is kind of dope. I guess I have to decide if I want to lean into or out of the rainbow thing. Can't tell. I'm really feeling what the magenta is doing right now. Maybe if I start leaning into all the colors mixing together, I'll lose this like tie-dye effect that I have going on. I'm also just adjusting the light so we can actually see what's happening here. Perfect. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. See, this is looking pretty good. This is looking pretty dope. Yeah, let's do it. Maybe the magenta is the answer here. I'm just going to go for it. Let's see what happens if I just drop the magenta right on the green, too. Let's see. I mean, a skull. We can get a skull going on. That would be pretty sick, obviously. Christian artist fallback. Make it a skull. Make it a skull. Yeah. Okay. And I'm trying to get it as wet as possible. Cool. Perfect. Let's just see. Maybe we'll just cancel out this green. I mean, I had a painting teacher once who was saying that you get the colors to look interesting when you have them like internally being in conflict. So he would intentionally mix colors that don't go together, like green and red and things like that, so that you could feel like the tension in the colors as you were looking at them as they were being mixed. Okay, this is looking pretty sick. I know there's a big shine, but I can't really avoid it, so just roll with me for a second because I'm going to do something else crazy in a second. I'm just going to try and come through and dry this up and see if we get... It's looking pretty cool, actually. And see if we get a nice like set of textures. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come through with one last sort of pass over here. I know this looks like kind of a mess, but I'm hoping that something really tight is going to happen right now. Boom. Let's see. What I'm hoping I can do right now is actually just come in and just dab up. Perfect. Cool. Cool. Let's see how this goes. Okay. It's actually looking kind of sick, honestly. In a good way. And over here, you probably can't tell on the camera, but it's so thick it would like never dry. That's how thick the water is, just sitting on top of here. I could probably leave it for like a day. Like this is just a dark pool of water. So let's see. Let's see what happens when I come through. This is kind of an interesting look, actually. I don't know what I would call this color scheme right now, but we're definitely cooking with something right now. Cool. So this is good because we kind of toned down the rainbow element that we had going on. It's a little too rainbowy, wasn't it? Don't you think so? Nice. This is pretty cool, actually. Okay. Okay, now we got something that we can work with going on here. I like these, you know, when you start working with certain dark colors, you get a kind of like shimmery, maybe like a gem, maybe like a jewel or a gem or something going on. Maybe that's kind of what this makes me think of. So maybe we'll play into that a little bit. Maybe we'll come back into the darker areas and leave the lighter areas a little bit. I guess we have to start thinking about what we're going to put on here. I really, for some reason, I'm just thinking of a cardinal. I know we kind of did that before, though, a long time ago. We had like a red cardinal in a sphere like this, but we know what we could do is we could have a bird coming around, and we could use this like twisted space. And then we could have something here with the bird. That'd be kind of cool. But let's push the colors a little bit in the background a little bit more. I don't want to just do the straight wash and then like kind of tap out like that. I was really getting a good vibe from the magenta. I don't know about you. Something about the greens didn't really give me the look that I was going for. I don't know. Maybe it's just how I was using them, but the greens didn't really give me that look. But the blues and purples were looking pretty sick. So let's use that a little bit. And I like these edges. I like the texture we got going on over here. Let's see how much we can push that right now. We'll probably do that process that you just saw right now one more time, and then we'll start kind of painting in whatever the subject matter is going to be. Cool. And yeah, someone says kind of like William Blake meets Taoism. It's really funny. Yeah, some of you guys have probably seen like the Zen paintings where they do what's called an enzo. They do like a big ink circle. I do have black ink too, but we could use the black here. That's the other thing. I could start getting black in here. That would be really interesting, but then the problem, it's not a problem, but then we want to be strategic about what we're doing in some way. Then the thing is that then we're not going to have this light background. Right now we have a light background and we'll be able to paint dark onto it. But if we start getting the dark in, then actually, now that I just described that, it makes me feel like we should do it because it'll be more of an interesting interplay between the two elements. Part of the point of like painting and having this, chaotic situation going on is that we don't just get that static background, foreground. Here's the background, here's the foreground. So now that I said that and reasoned that out, let's get a little black in there. We could even get some white in too if we really wanted to. That would be interesting because partially with watercolor, you're using the white of the page as white. Traditionally, if you do like really classical watercolor stuff, you don't really use white at all that much. They have something called Chinese white that's like an opaque white. Opaque means you can't see through it. That maybe you'd use as like a highlight on like a pitcher or something. Pitcher like a vase, like a glass pitcher. But normally you just use the white of the paper as white. But here we can do both because we have the white paint. And we have this. I'm loving this. This is kind of like tourmaline. If anyone knows what tourmaline is, it's a really cool stone. Let's see. I'm going to come in with a little bit of a black. I can't believe I'm using the black like this, but I guess that's why we're here. Let's see. Maybe there is like a theological metaphor there. That we need to have a little bit of the black in to represent the reality of things. So we'll come in a little bit. Let's make it darker over here, and then we'll get the dark light thing going on. I think that's the move, actually. While I was researching this, I came across a topic that I kind of forgot existed because it serves almost no purpose for my practice, but it is really cool. There's something called impossible colors, and they're colors that are generated. Well, you know, that term impossible colors encompasses a lot of things, you know. There's a book, a story H.P. Lovecraft wrote. It's called The Color Out of Space, where this meteor comes. Look at this color down here. This like deep indigo is sick. That's good. We want that for sure. Perfect. Yeah, this is looking tight now. Man, I really like this like arrangement that we have going on. I almost don't want to change it too much, but you know, we can't have that mindset. Anyway, H.P. Lovecraft wrote this story called The Color Out of Space, and this meteor lands, and it's a color that no one's ever seen before, and then like the ramifications of that play out in this short story. So there's a whole sort of, I guess you could call it a field in a way. There's a field or a thing called impossible colors, and part of it is colors that people have theorized existed. Part of it is things like that where people make up colors for stories or something. But there's also colors that you can see that are technically not real colors, and what you can do is some of you guys have probably seen the effect of, you know, if you stare at like a inverse colored American flag for 20 or 30 seconds, and then you look over at a white piece of paper, you see the real American flag, you get that like after image, you know? If anyone doesn't know what I'm talking about, if you stare at like a blue circle or something for a while and look at a white piece of paper, you'll see like an orange circle there. Basically the cones in your eyes that perceive color get fatigued. It's called cone fatigue. And you see an after image of the color that you were just looking at. So you can do like tricks with that to see colors that don't actually exist. And it's kind of cool. Like using the principle I just described, you can imagine, you know, I'm just going to kind of come in with this darker magenta, like intuitively. And then we'll start painting whatever the subject is going to be in here. Some of this reminds me of like a pearl or something, doesn't it? But after this, we'll use this kind of like dark and light situation we have going on, and we'll paint in something for real. But yeah, anyway, so you can imagine, like I just said, if you're staring at a blue circle and then you look at a white piece of paper, you see an orange circle there, right? So what you can do with the cone fatigue is you can stare at a blue circle and then look at an orange piece of paper, and then you'll see sort of like an impossibly saturated orange. You'll see an orange that you can't normally see without utilizing that cone fatigue. And there's a few examples of like impossible colors that you can do that way. I'm sure if anyone searched for impossible colors, some websites or something would come up that allow you to do that. Anyway, I was just thinking about that. It's a really cool title. Be a good title for an album or something, like Impossible Colors. Perfect. There we go. Cool. Yeah, maybe the red and everything is kind of the answer too. Okay, I'm not really getting like the crazy washy effect that I wanted, but let's just see what happens. This is enough of the background stuff. So we're going to have to pull the trigger on some kind of subject matter in the front. I guess we'll take a pause and kind of see what this looked like. I don't know if I should have just stuck with the straight printery colors, but I just mixed the cyan, magenta, and yellow. But it's an experiment for me as it is for you, my loyal viewer. Can you come through with this again? And let's see. I mean, I like doing the seasonal thing. That does really fit the theme in a way. Nice. Nice. This is looking dope. See how much I can dab up this red up here. I'm actually just going to come through and do this too. I want to tone down that green. I feel like the green is like what's part of what's holding me back. Cool. I'm going to come up here a little bit too. Nice. Okay, I'm feeling this right now. Come up here a little bit. Just a little bit. Cool. Perfect. And I just don't want to park it on that very paper towel texture note, so I'm just going to come in really quick again. Okay, so now we got to kind of decide what we're going to put on top of this thing situation over here. I mean, I'm really struggling. I'm struggling not to say that we should put in like a skull or something, because I just feel like that would be so tight. I know it will be good. Let's just go for it. I mean, how are we not going to do that right now? Color outside of the visible spectrum is a great little metaphorical dagger you can use on the material atheist types. Yeah, that would be interesting. Okay, I almost feel like I should move this around over here, but I'm not going to do it. Let's just go. Let's just move in for the skull thing right now. I mean, part of the other reason why I'm leaning into the skull, aside from its obvious, it's like the dopest spiritual symbol, but it'll also balance out the colory situation here. That is like sort of a trick you can deploy sometimes, but you know, if you're doing art on your own, but sometimes, you know, if you're pushing a little bit too hard into like a certain vibe in terms of colors or maybe just the content or anything, you can deploy something that balances it out in terms of another art department. So for example, it sounds really abstract, but here I'm like, oh, the colors are giving me kind of like a tie-dye-y, rainbowy kind of vibe, a little bit of like a overly happy maybe kind of thing. So we're going to balance out that right now with a little bit of a skull situation. And I'm just going to come in. What I would like to do is get it to be about that thickness right there. And I want to keep it interesting in terms of the colors. So I'm going to see if I can progressively... I put the blue back on my brush. There we go. Perfect. Perfect. Oh, perfect. Here's what I'm going to do. Let's get some white in this. Let's see how that goes. This might change up the whole situation, but I don't know. I don't know if it will. Let's see. Oh, interesting. Dude, I love the cool purples. You got to love them, but this is going to be way too light. It's okay though. Let's see how it goes. I'm just going to come in here. Actually, it's not. It's actually not. Perfect. Perfect. So then let's get it to be way too light. We'll come in the bottom with like the teeth area. And what I'm thinking is it would be really sick if we can get the skull in. I don't want to overdo it, but I also, you can't even see that, so I don't want to underdo it either. And then we can get something inside the skull. I know you can't really see this right now, but I don't want it to just be like, you know, we painted the skull over the thing that we made. So I'm going to come back in and see how I want to play that. Because maybe what we can do is, where it gets darker down here, we can, yeah, there we go. This is what I'm talking about right here. We can just pick up the color. Perfect. And man, making the marks with the paper towel is sick. Damn, I almost feel like we should have just done that the whole time. That looks really tight. Let's see, maybe I can just come down here and kind of just dry this up a little bit. Maybe that's a little bit much. It really is so luminous. I feel like I'm drawing with like light right now. This is nuts. Man, I almost want to just do a whole nother one just drawing with the paper towel. It's actually freaking insane. Cool. Okay, but we don't want it to just be, we're gonna have to keep going back and forth in terms of like balancing it out, I guess. I don't know, I feel like this is really sick, but I don't know. Let's just roll with it. Let's see what happens. I enjoyed how much that looked so much. I totally forgot what I was even talking about. Okay. We'll come in here. We'll darken it up. A little bit darker. Okay. Yeah, I can't tell. I mean, the light looks so tight. Let's do it. I'm gonna break this back out again right now. Yeah, I mean, look at that. I'm literally like luminously drawing. Part of the reason why I'm actually looking at the screen, so I'm seeing exactly what you're seeing. Part of the reason why it looks so dope is because watercolor is a nice way you can get painting at home. This is where I go full Bob Ross mode. But watercolor is a nice way you can get painting at home because, you know, you throw on some gloves. It's not that, you know, you're not going to get any on yourself. You know, you can get a piece of paper. I mean, you can get some watercolor paper. You can set yourself up pretty cheaply. And it also kind of impresses people because it has this kind of like chaotic feeling. But what's really nice about it is that what you're seeing with the white is that you're seeing the light is bouncing off the page that's underneath the paint and bouncing back through the paint. You're seeing the white page that is reflecting the white light back to you despite the paint that's on top of it. How much can I push this? I mean, up here it's not even that wet, so I can't really. Cool. Cool. I mean, you could do what I'm doing right now, right? You definitely could. Show a girl, then you get a girlfriend, boom. Solve like half your problems right there. I'm just kidding. And I'm going to push up this darkness here. I'm going to push this darkness up. That might be kind of sick because then we have the skull and it's like half light, half black. You can see this purple is like bleeding in here, but obviously that's kind of tight, so I'm just going to leave it. Maybe we'll come in. Should we come in with the green? I mean, did we leave the green behind? I can't really tell. I don't know what's going on. Let's see, though. Maybe we'll darken the green up. The green needs a little black or something. I don't know if we should use the green, but we're going to do it. Let's see. We'll just come in here. Perfect. Perfect. Cool. And, I have to keep moving the light around just so you can actually see what I'm doing. So get the green in here. It's a delicate mix between letting it be chaos and crazy and then also having that controlled element. But I think we're doing pretty solid right now. Yeah, we definitely are. We definitely are. Cool. There we go. It's perfect. Really like this down here, but I'm just going to lean into it right now. And now I'm getting somewhat of an idea of what we're going to put inside the skull, because this kind of naturally has made a little bit of like a landscapey feeling in here, hasn't it? So let's see, maybe we can come in. I mean, that would be pretty cool. I wish this, I'm seeing it as a hill already. I wish this hill was a little bit over this way, but it's all good. And maybe we'll just kind of roll with that a little bit. I mean, that would be cool. You get a little bit of a landscapey vibe in here. It might not translate, but let's see. So I made this a little bit more yellow just so it'll hopefully read as a second plane. What I want, plane is in P-L-A-N-E. Because what I want, yeah, oh yeah, we're definitely, this is going to be sick. I actually just got really amped. So I'm just going to dab up this right here so you can actually see. So we got that shine. Perfect. This is dope. And I'm going to just dry this up a little bit. Because what would be cool is we can use this green as like a hill. And then this maybe is like the sort of field out there beyond it, you know. And if I was a better painter, sometimes I have my own limitations also, I would have planned, and we can maybe even just get a little bit of the, some like hills way in the distance. There we go. Perfect. Almost you can't see them. Almost transparent. That's perfect. It's almost not there, but you can still see it. And if I'm going to use that effect, I got to get just a little bit more of a border in here. I don't want it to be a line, because then I'm going to destroy like the visual effect that I have. That's pretty good. It's pretty good. And then, let's see. I'm going to crisp up the hill a little bit. If we're going to lean into the hill thing, I'm going to crisp it up a little bit. And then what? Maybe we can go like medieval. Oh, that green is very bright. No, 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 no. Not like that style. Not like that style. And then what? We got to get something on top of the hill. Let's see. City on a hill is pretty classic, but I'm not going to get a whole city up here. That's not going to happen right now. Castle's pretty classic. Because we can put something in the hill too. That's kind of the tight. It's kind of the tight thing we can have going on. I literally have a giant wad. Look at this. I literally have a giant wad of paper towels right here. So I'm just going to lean over. Quickly get rid of those. Okay. Oh, you know what would be sick? I actually just had a good idea. Let's see if I can do this. I don't know if I can. The paint might be too dry underneath, but you know what would be tight? Is if we could put a skeleton into the hill. Like there's a, you know what I mean? Like there's a dead body like underneath the hill or something like that. You know, if I felt like it would be cool, we could put like a cross on the hill or something. But let's not be so heavy-handed. Yeah, we kind of can. We kind of can just like come in here. Let's see if this will work. I have no idea if this will work or not. Because it's really wet. You can see I make a mark and then it goes away. So I don't know if it'll even read as a skeleton, but let's see. Because we can get like a Nephilim skeleton in here is what I'm thinking. We can get like a giant skeleton. Let's see. It's a little bit of a stretch. I got to really point the paper towel up right now. So we can get the Nephilim skeleton in here. That's good. People don't know about the giants, you know. Sometimes normies talk about them a little bit. Okay. And when I do a skeleton like this, especially if I'm doing this kind of mark making where I know it's not going to be so exact, I want to make it like very clear. So I'm making the ribs. Perfect. I don't know if this is going to work. Well, let's see. Get the ribs in. I just gotta keep beating back the paint up here. We're gonna get an arm. Ugh, it's so hard to keep it like tight point. I think this will be sick though. We'll get the other arm. Boom. A little bit of a hand, just like a hint of a hand, just so the eye reads it as a hand or something. And then, let's see, I gotta come back in and do these ribs again. We're fighting against the encroaching pigment. The pigment shineth on the paper. If I wasn't painting right now, I could make a really good, like, you know, the darkness. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness grasps it not, but it's like the paper towel and the pigment. A little too focused, but if I wasn't, I could really... Okay, so put the hip bones in, there's a little bit, and then what I gotta do is I gotta come out, boom, like that, for the leg bone. I got the perfect fatness at the top like I wanted there. That was perfect. And then I'm gonna come down this way, boom, perfect. This is a good, this might be a good giant skeleton. And the thing is, what I can do is I can come back with the white paint and we can, same deal, perfect. Perfect. Ah, dude, this is legit. So I can come back with the white paint and I'm just gonna go over this one more time. I know you've seen me paint the same ribs like 4 times now, but I think it's actually looking pretty dope. And then what? If it's a giant skeleton, then what's the rest of the picture, you know? Are we going with like a flood kind of thing? That would be pretty cool, actually. Those two things go together in my mind. You know? Because we kind of got this could be like a storm coming in over here. It kind of looks like darkness, like spilling in, you know? Oh, and then we could get a rainbow. We could utilize the CMYK rainbow thing. That would actually be sick. Okay, that's enough painting the skeleton 20 million times. That looks really tight. That looks really, really good, actually. Looking at my own picture, great, perfect, 5 stars, so good. Okay. Nice. Okay, boom. That's what I'm talking about right there. That was legit. That was a really good creative moment because I didn't know what I was gonna do. Oh, what I'm dying to do is put in the patella right here in between. That's the if you feel your kneecap, there's a little bone right there. And I really want to, but I think it might ruin... I'm going to do it anyway. Yeah, I just did that. I really wanted to. Okay, so we'll come back in and put the bones in. It's going to fuzz out a little bit. But let's think now for a second because... okay, you know what we can do? I actually just had a really good idea. So we're looking at this right now. I was thinking the Nephilim, the dead giant stuff, kind of makes me think of the flood in a way. I don't know how theologically sound it is, but... I feel like I picked up along the way that like maybe part of the purpose of the flood was like getting rid of like giants and stuff like that. I know that's not the only reason. I know that's not the reason even, but somehow in my brain those two things are synced up. I don't know. This isn't like a hardcore theology hour. I'm just like a painter, so you got to roll with it. But what I'm thinking would be sick is we have this hill over here, and we could put the ark up on the hill. Like it's over, like all this is over now, you know, we could put the ark up on this hill. That would be pretty sick. And then we got a lot of options, because we could put like a bird in the air, we could put in a rainbow. I mean, how are we not going to do that right now? Is there any other alternative? And what I'm thinking is, I know the ark is always painted brown, like it's just the straight wood. But we're going to do something a little bit different right now, actually. I'm going to stop using this huge brush. I'm going to break out the other new brush. What is this? This is a size 8, it says. This is an 8 round. And some of you guys may know, I almost want to get the book and dig it out right now. But I don't want to, like, pause the show too long. Should I do it? No, I'm not going to get it. I don't see it on the bookshelf. But, there's some stories and stuff. I think there is one line in scripture that uses the word bitumen, but I'm not sure. But there's tales. I'll present them fully as tales because I don't know what the reality is or the theological soundness. But there's tales of the ark being covered in a type of like bitumen. Bitumen is a really weird word that I've only seen in older books, you know, like weird older like esoterica books. I'm specifically thinking of a book by Agrippa from the 1500s. The word bitumen, it's like a asphalty mixture. It's like an asphalt kind of. That's how I imagine it. I don't know what it actually is made of, but I imagine it to be like an asphalty mixture. And some people say that the ark was covered on the outside with this bitumen. And there's actually stories. So now we're totally like extra biblical, just in like kind of folktale-y world. But there's stories that on Mount Ararat, where the ark landed, supposedly, just giving you, I'm not going to say supposedly every single time, but the bitumen it was covered with allowed it to stay there for a really long time, and that ancient people could even go like see the ark and stuff. There's some stories like that. So I might paint the ark in black, you know, like it's covered in this bitumen. I think that would be really cool. I'm pausing for a second. I'm saying, am I gonna paint it in black? I mean, I could mix a little brown in. Let's see, we'll get a little brown in. We'll make it totally black, but I feel like that would be kind of cool. I never painted in the black ark before, but if it was covered in the bitumen, it probably would have been about this color. Again, this is not scripturally sound, probably, but I think bitumen is. I think the word bitumen is used in some translations, but I don't know actually. I really should know, but I don't know. If anyone wants to look it up, you can. So I'm just gonna throw in the ark right here. Perfect. And I'm going to make it a little bit loose with this brush just because everything else is so loose that if one or two things is like 100% perfect, totally tight, it's going to like rupture. It's going to mess up the whole space. So I kind of intentionally have this little messed up, you could say there. And I'm going to dry this out a little bit. And when I draw the arc, I think it was actually round or something, right? Now I'm totally like I have no idea, honestly. But I like to draw it in as a ship, and then I put the top part in up there too. It's kind of like what an epic ship looks like to me. So I'm going to put this up here. And I almost want to come through with the paper towel and lighten it up a little bit, but we do need like a good focal point. And you can see that this dark focal point is really good. Your eye, boom, your eye goes right there, and then it's kind of led around the rest of the picture. So that's really good, actually. We're just going to leave that, honestly. Ren S said, I think Abraham Lincoln talked about the bones of giants below the earth. Yeah, well, he would be correct about that. And now we got a really good setup here. So the thing for this kind of image, I thought we'd have to come back in and like redo the bones of this giant, but I actually don't think we're going to. I'm going to dab up a little bit of the arc just so it fits with the rest of the picture enough. You know, I don't want it to like be totally an outlier. You really want the whole picture. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. You want the whole thing to come together like a Polaroid. You know, the way a Polaroid develops all together, you want it to look like it all just came together all at once. Okay, so we got a few options right now. This is like the, you know, it's like you're driving along and all of a sudden you see the sign for the highway and it says Spring City, 20 miles, and you're like, whoa, we're only 20 miles away? Wow, that's exactly what just happened right now, because all of a sudden, like, boom, we got it going on, it's looking dope, but we want to make good decisions from here on out. And we got a few questions going on. I mean, things I'm thinking, I'm just going to think out loud with you so you know what I'm thinking. I mean, I was thinking about stuff we could put in the outside, but like I said, I don't want to get it too like sniper scopey. So I actually think there's probably not that many things that we're going to do because it looks really tight. So I think that what we're going to do is, here's some options we have. River coming down is always tight, and the thing about a nice windy river is it'll push the back. It'll push the back way further out. It'll really make that space like actualize. So we are going to do that actually. There's a few tricks you can use when you're doing like two-dimensional imagery, which is the main thing that I do, obviously, the only thing I do, to push things further back and really like hype up the space. If you look at some old Japanese woodblock prints and things like that, sometimes if you're looking at a scene, like let's just say this is like a market or something, all the way in the front, there'll be like a branch with like a bird on it. And even looking at the cameras, even looking at your screen right now, you can see that part of what that does is when you have something in the hyper foreground, it makes things in the background look further away. So it's actually a pretty advanced like pictorial technique that Japanese artists would use for like woodblock prints. They'll have boom, like a branch like right up in your face with a bird, and then you're looking at stuff way back here, and it's very pleasant for your eye to have these like huge depths that you're looking at that are actually ultimately an illusion. It's part of what makes like those pictures really nice to look at, although most people would obviously never think of that. You would never look at it unless you're looking at it from an artistic perspective like that. That's part of what makes them nice to look at. And the thing about putting this river in is right now you can see I went with this blue. I was like, oh, river, it's blue, you know. But the thing about water is water actually reflects the light and color of the sky around it. If you go to a river in Colorado or something, or wherever you are, I just thought about a river in Colorado. It's not blue. I mean, maybe if it's reflecting the sky, it's blue, but it's really reflecting the light around it and stuff. So I'm actually just going to kind of come in with a little bit of the sky color and see if we can make it look like a river. I actually don't even know if it's going to work or not, but we're going to see right now. And I feel like maybe I even should have made it more orange and less green, but we'll see. Okay, and let's just go for it. Kind of try and make this nice and loose, you know. Ah, twist, it's not dark enough. But it's okay. Actually, that looks pretty good. We'll take it. We'll take it for our situation. And we don't want to ending with this vertical. That's pretty good, actually. Kind of does look like a river. I feel like we can use more yellow, though, honestly. Should I come in with the white? Maybe the white's the answer. It's like reflecting the light of the sky. We'll see. I don't know, actually. I don't really know how we should play this one. Oh, someone got the quote, I think. Let's see. I'll look it up in 1 second. Okay, let's see. Let's see. Boom. So I come in with the river. I guess the river would be, you know, like the water is like receding. I've been thinking about Genesis a lot recently. Not for any particular reason. Let's see. I don't feel like I should go one way or the other entirely. I don't feel like I should go entirely darker or entirely lighter. So let's see. Maybe I'll just get the white. I'll mix it up right here with the orange, and we'll just come in and get a little bit of the like flashes of light in here. You don't want it to look too overworked. You don't want it to look like someone poked in. With this kind of thing, I say this all the time, but you want it to look like the color just spilled out. You know, and it just so happened to make this arrangement. So the river, that looks good, actually. That looks good. I don't want to make it too intense. Other options. Tree would be kind of dope. If we get the tree going on, because we could put like a really cool tree over here. Smaller, I guess. And maybe we can put one over here. If we put the tree, then we've locked into detail mode. And we're going to have to put a few more other details in. I guess that's what we should do. We got a little time. I thought maybe we'd end at like 8:30, so let's see. I mean, honestly, I'm not really thinking about the time. I'm always like, oh, the time, as though people are like, oh, how's it gonna make it to the time? So let's see. Let's just go down that road. If we did that, you know, we get the tree in here. We could get 2 different kinds of trees. It would be kind of cool. I always use the 2 different kinds of trees. I'm really feeling this stormy situation, and I almost feel like we could get like a storm cloud in. Let's do it. Since this is the loose, I don't know what's happening. We'll get the storm cloud in. And then we could get like a sun, maybe that's a little bit too much, or like the dove in the sky. What would be kind of cool is if we get the tree, and then for the dove, we could just put in like not paint in the whole dove, but just like a little white thing in the sky, and the viewer would kind of infer that it's the dove. And then you could say, well, actually, if the ark is already on the mountain, then the part of the story with the dove already happened because the dove got sent out to go see if there was land. And I would say, well, yeah, but it's a picture, so relax. So let's see. We're gonna throw in the tree, and let's see. I'm kind of experimenting with you guys right now because normally I would mix up like a brown because I'm working in a very medieval colory context where everything is illuminated and the bark on the tree is brown and the leaves on the tree are green and this is the, you know, but this is more of like a shiny colory space. So I think I'm just gonna grab a little bit of whatever this dark color is and see if we can come in and paint in a little tree. Yeah, perfect. Literally perfect. Cool. It's way too dark. I'm going to dab it up though, don't worry. And let's come in with the green top. And I'm going to make it a cypress tree. Cypress trees represent death. So it's kind of nice for us here because it's like We got the skull, we got this luminous, like, beautiful color situation, but oh man, that looks good with the fade. Oh, I mean, let's just leave that. I could dab it up, but it looks really tight. I didn't really expect that, honestly. I feel like we should put in one more. I feel like I should put in one more up here, like a taller tree. So I'm just gonna do it. Let's see, I'm just gonna come in right here. That fade looks sick. I hope it dries like that, though. I don't know if it's gonna dry like that, but we'll see. Do the same thing we just did. That's the thing, when you get better at the watercolor stuff, you can kind of control how it handles. Like right now, I just want to make sure you can see. Like right now, what I'm doing is I'm putting down the pigment and I'm bringing all the color up to the top. I'm literally just dragging it up. Perfect. Didn't exactly dry like that, but maybe I can just come back in and push it up again. Perfect. Exaggeration on the color is almost too much, but it actually looks really sick. Okay, man, and you know I'm really thinking about the rainbow. I guess I kind of forgot about that. I feel like we have to. I feel like we came this far. I can't wuss out. You know, I can't wuss out and be like, oh well, I don't want to ruin it. I mean, we came this far together, so we're gonna do it. Let's just do it. I'm gonna wet it. I'm gonna wet this. I want to make sure I have all the colors I need ready to go over here. So I'll get the yellow over here. Got a little council of colors over here. We got the cyan, magenta. I know some of them look really dark on your screen, but it's the only way I can get the other colors going. Let's just go for it. It would be kind of be ideal if the colors on the rainbow weren't perfect. We could do a double rainbow. That makes it a little bit less like the obvious rainbow situation, but let's see. I don't know if we're going to do that, but I'm going to leave room in case we do that. So I'm just going to wet this. And as you cannot see the water, nor can I, so it's going to be interesting to try and remember. And I want it to be really faint. I don't know how faint I can get with these colors, but let's just see. Perfect. I almost want it to be like crazy subtle. Nice, we got the red. Didn't plan this exceptionally well. I got the orange, just a little bit of the red. Boop. Cool. It's not really that orange, but we're just gonna roll with it. Perfect. Now we're just gonna grab the yellow, as if you need me to narrate the classical Roy J. Biv color situation. Oh fuck. Sorry, I cursed. My arm slipped. All right. Now let's get a little bit of the green. You can feel the tension in the air. Perfect. It's the exact. It's almost too subtle. You almost can't even see it. I have to like load it up again almost. There we go. Perfect. I don't know if we're gonna go with the double rainbow. It would be a real power move, but I don't know if I have enough room. Okay, now we're gonna go with the blue. I don't want this to be too dark. We have a really nice subtle color situation going on, so I dried this off a little bit. Okay, it's a little dark, but I don't want it to be too light either. You know, you can't. It cuts both ways. Let's come back in here. Perfect. Yeah, see, I kind of took it away, didn't I? It's okay though. Just make it work. Maybe that's how dark it should be. I mean, I can't fight the reality that it needs to be there in like some way, right? And then we got the purple. And this purple I'm gonna really dry off, because purple is naturally the darkest color. If you imagine purple, right, it's way darker than the other colors. So a little bit more than that though. Ah, man. Let's see. Kind of feeling it. I'm kind of feeling it right now. I thought the blue was too dark, but it almost makes it so you can see it. You know, if the blue wasn't that dark, it almost like wouldn't even be there. Maybe I should just accept it. Maybe I should accept how dark the blue is. Okay, I'm gonna come up. Okay, that's looking pretty tight. It's looking pretty tight. Jack Francis said, just found this channel through Charles. Feels comfy. Cool. Was Charles talking about me? That's dope. Let me know. I'll reverse plug him. I don't know what his channel is called, though, honestly. But that's dope if so. Big if true. Big if true. Okay, and I think we're doing good. I don't know. I'm going to come in lightly with the storm cloud. I feel like we talked about it. I feel like it's a cool idea. But I don't want it to, like, ruin this nice effect that we have going on. So I'm just going to, like, drag out the color a little bit here. Yeah, that's perfect. I almost want to paint in the cloud. Like, sometimes I paint in the clouds. Like, if you've seen any of my art, it all has clouds in it. But I think what I'll do instead is just kind of pump up this receding darkness. You know, it's like the darkness is, like, receding. It's kind of ultimately, like, what the story's about in a way. Kind of. Not entirely, but there's an element of receding darkness. Cool. Yeah, that looks good. Kind of hyped it up as like a fog or something, you know. Perfect. Let's bring it out a little bit more. It looks really good. Cool. Come back in with this dark color. Perfect. Okay. That's really tight. Yeah, that's better now. It's like this receding storm, you know, in a way. Okay, and the last thing we need is the dove. I'm going to throw the dove in the sky, and then I think we're good, honestly. This is looking really sick. I'm not going to come back in and touch up the Nephilim skeleton because I like that it looks so natural. I like that it looks like it's almost like buried in the earth, really, you know? So now I'm going to break out one more brush because I want it to be pure white. I don't want there to be any pigment on it. So I opened the last new brush. Number 2 round. And where I'm going to put this right now, I mean, this isn't a huge deal. It's not, honestly. I would love to hype it up like, this is it. We're going to make or break the picture. But it's not really, honestly. But I feel like I should put it like right here. Yeah, I almost want to make it like one of those seagull little like V's in the sky. So I think that's what I'm going to do. The thing is, it's going to be, should I make it pure white? I can't tell. The pure white is going to sing out a lot. But let's go for it. We came this far. And I think we're going to be done. So I'm going to come in. Part of me wants to like paint in the dove, but I know that would ruin the picture. Like if I gave it like a beak and like, you know. Because when you do stuff like this, you have to imagine, you know, when you see a bird really, really far away in the sky, you can't obviously see any of its details, right? Okay, cool. Let's just come in like this. That's tight. You know, honestly, at first I thought I made it too small, but it actually looks really sick. Nice. I think we're done. I just like literally felt it like come together. Very cool. Okay. So the thing is, when you're looking at something for a really long time, we talk about this also almost every episode. When you're looking at something for a really long time, it's good to just look away for a second. So I'm just gonna look away for like 10 seconds just to, you know, sometimes you look back. When I first did the show, I would close up and then I'd come back in here and be like, oh my god, I didn't put the blank on the blank. But let me just see. I'm gonna go through the chat really quick just to see if I missed anything, and then we'll decide. I think we are done, but you know, I gotta look away for a second. What kind of music do you play on bass? Mostly I just vibe out. Maybe I'll play one day, but I just go through things called the modes and kind of just like jam out, honestly. I'm really into like Japanese punk music and weird things like that, but I mostly just use it to like sonically express myself in a way that isn't like visually recorded and that has nothing to do with my like visual work, you could say. But maybe we'll talk about that next time. I say that every time you ask me. I'll just break it down and play something sometime. I have been playing, and the Bit Crusher pedal is super aesthetic. It like pixelates the sound, and I've been really like vibing out with it. Colors outside of the color spectrum, yeah, we hit that one. I think Abraham Lincoln, we talked about that one. Boom, boom, boom. Bitterman's like tar, and someone got the quote. Oh yeah, it's perfect. This is a perfect note to end on. Oh, it's Cody. What's up, man? What's up, man? It says, make thee an ark of gopher wood. Rooms shalt thou make in the ark, and shalt pitch it within and without with pitch. Genesis 6:14. Yeah, so the pitch is something like, it's something like bitumen. I think that word pitch is related to the term pitch black. Like when you get something when someone says, oh, it's pitch black outside, they're saying it's as black as pitch. And I think that stuff called pitch is in texts of antiquity referred to as bitumen. I don't know if it's the exact same thing, but it's some kind of coating. And like I said, if anyone wants something cool to look into after we wrap this up right now, there are some like stories and stuff. I think if you search me on Twitter and with my username bitumen, I think I posted, I'll retweet it or something, but there's quotes from antiquity where they describe the Ark being found and people going to see the Ark or something, and it lasted because it was covered with this bitumen that like protected it from the elements and stuff like that. Okay. That's it though, right? Yeah. Okay, boom. So we're good. I'm going to move the paint so we can just see it all on its own, and then we'll wrap this up right now. I have to pick up the mic, so if you're listening at 10 trillion decibels, you're probably getting the ASMR of me moving around the mic and stuff. Boom. Let's see. Yeah, this looks dope. This looks dope. I'm going to move the light. Cool, man. Boom. So we're good. Oh, I got the sticker with the branding. That wasn't intentional. All right, perfect. So we'll wrap this up right now. Like I say at the end of every episode, I always feel the need to recap, but you were just here, so I don't need to. But any recappy things? Yeah, I mean, this is kind of like maybe what we'll be doing for the next few weeks or something. I feel like the nice part of what I initially wanted the show to be is like illuminating the creative process and how it kind of happens in real time, and sort of breaking down that wall of thinking like, oh, I need to have this great idea at the beginning, and then that's how I get it going, because that's really not how it happens. So yeah, I think we really did that. And I feel like also the kind of thing about watching this, you know, I mean, don't you feel like you could get some paints and you could get something like this going for you for sure, man? And even if you don't show anyone, like it really feels really good. It's really like relaxing and also like rejuvenating. And there's something, you know, this is the note we'll end on since we started with the color theory. There is something like spiritual in nature about seeing just the colors, and there's something about it, you know, God uses the metaphor or literal aspects of light so much in scripture, and we use that to represent God, and an intrinsic aspect of light is like the color. So there is something about the color that really stimulates like the spirit in some way, just like music and things like that. And you know, like I said, even if you don't show anyone, you can get some pain, and just engaging with it just feels so good. It feels really good. So I hope you enjoyed watching that. I had a really good time doing that with you guys. That was really, really fun for me, actually. And we're going to wrap it up. So that's basically the deal. We'll do something kind of wild and, you know, unplanned next time also. You know, we'll keep that energy going. And that's basically it. Thanks a lot for coming through. Thanks a lot for being part of the general situation. Thanks for tuning in. And now we return back to the spiritual landscape, the spiritual battlefield that we all must partake of. This was a nice oasis, but now we go back. And I will see you guys on the internet where we all hang out together. And I'm going to have an outro soon, but I don't right now. So I'm pressing the stop button. I will catch you guys later. Thanks a lot for watching.